Dialectical behavior therapy was created in the 1980s by Marsha Linehan in Seattle, Washington.
Today, DBT is taught all over the world.
We're two therapists who believe everyone can benefit from DBT skills.
I'm Kate.
I'm Michelle.
And this is DBT and Me.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. We're back for another episode. Say hi,
Yippee.
Michelle.
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
So today we're going to do an episode on something called the dime game. And what this boils down to essentially is, a decision-making tool. When you're having a hard time deciding either how hard you ought to push for something that you're asking for, or how hard you ought to, say no to something that's being asked of you. Those are the two situations that the dime game is meant to do. It's basically, obviously, we're going to go through the whole thing in more detail, but it's a list of questions that you can ask yourself, and for each, yes question that you have.
Yes answer.
Yeah, every yes answer. What did I say? Yes question?
Yep.
For every yes question, what does it even mean, Kate? For every yes answer, as the name dime game may have indicated to you, you put 10 cents, I'm putting air quotes, which no one can see, right? You put 10 cents in a pile, right? And then it breaks down for you, and we'll talk about this more in the moment, each of us with our sections, but basically, if you get up to a certain amount of money in your pile, which you can do with literal dimes if you wanted to, or you could just add them up on a calculator or in your head, or, however the hell makes sense to you. I can't hold numbers in my head very well, so probably wouldn't be that way for me. Anyway, if you get up to a certain amount of money, it kind of tells you, all right, yeah, you ought to be really pushing for this thing, or you ought to have an absolute no, without any hesitation. So I enjoy it because a lot of these are questions that I wouldn't necessarily think to ask myself. And so when I'm feeling, kind of paralyzed, indecisive, I find these questions to be, helpful. Obviously it might be hard to do in the moment unless you're really good at memorizing things and can just run through it really fast in your head. But this might be something better if you need to walk away from something, or if you're approaching a situation, right? If you're like, all right, I know I'm going to ask a person for this thing. Let me run through this checklist before I do that. Or if someone's asked and you get the chance to be like, can I think about it and get back to you? Then that also gives you an opportunity to go ahead and use this skill. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything to add generally about the dime game before we launch into it, Michelle?
No, I think you've hit the main points. The only other thing that I would add for why I really like this is because if you hold that, going back to the myths episode, if you hold that myth that asking for something is a pushy, rude thing to do, or that's basically if you hold a myth that you don't really have a right to say no, or things like that, doing this tool can be very validating. I think it really can show you that it is not a pushy, rude thing to ask for this. This is something that's really worth asking for, or this is something really worth saying no to. And also it can be validating if sometimes maybe you have other people in your life that are like, you should really stand your ground, or this should be really important to you, but maybe not. Go through this list. Yeah, but maybe not, right? Maybe you go through this list of questions and you don't have many dimes at the end, and it's like, okay, that kind of explains why I wasn't feeling like this was very important. So I feel like it can just give a lot of good objective information to consider when it comes to asking for something or saying no, if this is something you struggle with, which I certainly do. But you emphasize the main point really nicely, which is that this is something to do either before or taking a pause to think about later. This isn't going to be in the moment type of
I guess
skill
I just
to do.
didn't know which one of us would mention it. So just also, I like that it's sort of, I'm sure we'll post this in the group so you can see what we're talking about. But it's kind of organized in 2 columns, well, 3 columns, but so 2 sets of questions around a central column. So I like that it's organized around the same kinds of issues in both the asking for and the saying no, which I don't know if we were going to mention these, but just to call them out really quickly are like capability, it's like priorities, self-respect, rights, authority, relationship, goals, give and take, homework, and timing. And I just like it because I don't know, for me, those might be easier things to remember than the specific questions. I might be able to kind of hold that list in my head as a way to kind of check myself around these things easier than I could memorize. I don't know how many questions that would be, but a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't count.
Yep. Totally. Yeah. Yep. And you already said this too, but it probably bears repeating also. You do not need to have literal dimes in front of you to do this. This can all just be mental in your head to sort of add up and see where you
I don't know if you'd noticed this, Michelle, but I didn't know about it until a while after it started. Do you know that we're having a coin shortage?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Heard about that. Yeah.
So few people are buying stuff right now because of the pandemic and things like that there's a national coin shortage here in the U.S. for those of you listening in other countries. So that's funny. So no one has dimes.
Nobody has dimes.
Nobody has dimes to do this.
If you do, use them if you want. Otherwise, again, just do it in your head.
This is actually the time to go and pay for stuff at the store with your giant stacks of coins if you have them. Because you'll be putting them to circulation and people could use them. So as annoying as it probably is to the person directly behind you in line, still, you're doing a favor to the country? I don't know. Anyway, that got a little off course. Anyway, I am so ready for you, Michelle, and your part.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to be going over the column that is deciding how strongly to ask for something. So for every yes answer, you get a dime. And then I'm going to explain what that means at the end for how strongly or not strongly it recommends asking for the thing that you want. So the first question to ask yourself is this person able to give or do what I want? That's a very important question to think about because sometimes we may want a thing. Like I think about especially at work, right? If you want something at a job that you're at, it's really important to make sure that you're going to the correct person who can actually help you. Otherwise, you're naturally going to get a no answer. So make sure, like, if a raise is what you want, like we were talking about in the Dear Man episode, make sure you're going to the person who actually maybe could make that happen for you rather than going to someone who is basically going to be like, that's not my job to decide if you get a raise. So asking yourself, is this person able to give or do what I want?
I do think that's kind of funny just because what if the answer is no? How are any of the others relevant?
Right, exactly. Like, I think it's important that that's the first one. I don't think that's a coincidence that that's the number one question they put on the list.
I will say something that hilariously, I love this. No matter how many times Michelle and I teach this, I always notice new things. And I'm like, how have I never noticed that before? And this time, it was that it talks about checking wise mind before acting, because some of the answers might be more important than others. And that's what I think of with that first question. Because, you know, if the answer is no, the person cannot give me what I, you know.
You might want to stop there and recalibrate before continuing.
Wise mind, tells you that has an adjusted value of way more than, 10 cents or whatever. Anyway, I just think, anyway, that's all. That's
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I like this question too. Is getting my objective more important than my relationship with this person? So we talked about this with Dear Man. Dear Man is all about objective. Getting the thing that you want, right? Getting your roommate to do the dishes, getting a raise at your job, whatever it is. It's about getting the thing. And in some circumstances, you may decide, yes, I want the dishes to be done, but it's more important to me that my roommate and I have harmony. So it's not uber important to me. Or you may get to that point where you're like, no, I really need these dishes to be done. I don't care if they get pissed off at me for asking, like, I need these dishes to be done. So asking yourself that question of, is getting my objective more important than my relationship with this person? Doesn't mean you want to throw the relationship out the window. It just means that in that moment, the objective takes first priority.
Yeah.
Yep. The third question is, will asking help me feel competent and self-respecting? So even if you get a no answer, will you still feel good just because you asked? I've realized this for myself a lot. It took me a long time to get here. I think my own personal therapy has helped quite a bit, because I very much for a long time was like, well, if they're going to say no, or if they're going to get upset with me, then I'm just not even going to go there. And then I realized I felt worse not going there than I would if I went there, even if it went awful. It felt better to go there because I felt more competent and I had more self-respect. So see if that applies to you in the situation that you're considering asking about, is if you're going to feel more competent and self-respecting just by the very act of asking, even if you don't get the outcome that you want.
Maybe even just because, like, somehow by not asking, you might be disrespecting yourself. That's something I think has happened for me. So, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, not that necessarily that asking boosts my self-respect, but not asking would lower my self-respect.
Yeah.
Because I'm
that's a good way to think about it, too.
disrespect myself in order to not ask. I'm putting myself last, or, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kate. Definitely. This one, I guess, feels pretty black and white to me. It seems that way anyways. Is the person required by law or moral code to do or give me what I want? Now, in some situations, this may apply. In other situations, this doesn't apply at all. But if what you happen to be wanting or asking for is required by law, and again, moral code, to me that seems somewhat
ambiguous,
yeah, but again, if you surveyed 100 people, and if 100 people were like, this is the just thing to do, that gives you some indication. So again, that one though may apply to a workplace setting, right? Because
that's what I think about mostly.
Yeah,
workplace
there are
or hospitals
laws.
Or interacting
with medical care,
interacting with the law, right? With police officers or other things like that. I don't know. More high stakes generally, I think, is where that might apply.
Yeah. So it probably doesn't apply to, like, if you're going to a family member or a friend, but it may apply, in situations with someone who is in a position of authority, then this may come into play.
Yeah.
So something to think about and consider. And I feel like that is worth far more than 10 cents if the answer is yes to that one. That one carries a lot of weight, too.
So that adjusted wise mind value is a pretty big one?
Yep. Like, if they're required by law to do what you're asking, you might want to stick pretty firm to your request. The next one says, am I responsible for telling the person what to do? So this is a question related to authority. So again, in some situations this may apply, in some situations this really doesn't. But if, let's say, again, at a workplace, let's say you're, I don't know, an assistant manager or something like that, and you have some people who work below you, and you're asking them to do something for you, then you carry some authority in that situation. I guess it gives you a little more of a boost with saying you have the right to ask this person to do something for you because that's the position you're functioning in.
Or maybe, like, you're literally asking them to do their job. You have the right, you're like, hey, I need you to do this thing. No, I'm actually your boss.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that. The other situation that I could think of where this would apply is, exactly, parents to kids. If you are the parent, you have responsibility, as long as your child is under the age of 18, or living in your household or things like that, to basically
weird things. Like, if you're someone that is like, what is it? What are they called? People who work at dormitories at schools? The people who, like, monitor... I know there's a name for this. home.
Like a resident advisor, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
RA.
Anyway, yeah, right. Or maybe if you work in an adult family home, your client's there, you have to tell them how to do something. Anyway, I don't know. Just trying to think outside the box for other reasons why you have authority over someone. I don't know.
Yeah, like a personal example that I can think of is with my office. I have some other therapists who rent office space from me.
Oh, yeah.
So
Subletters.
I have the authority to basically ask them, hey, it's really important to make sure you lock the door when you leave or turn your lights off or, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm in the position of authority there.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
It gives you a little bit of a leg up if that applies to your situation. The next one is what I want appropriate for this relationship. And then it says in parentheses, is it right to ask for what I want? So again, if we go back to the roommate dishes situation that we talked about in the Dear Man episode, yes, it's appropriate when you are roommates sharing a household together to ask for that person to help maintain the household and the cleanliness of the space. That's appropriate for that relationship. And I'm trying to think of relationships where it would not be appropriate. Can you think of some?
I'm so dirty-minded.
Go for it.
Well, I was just thinking, you probably shouldn't be asking your fill in the blank here with almost any work relationship for sex. Right?
Yep.
That is,
there you go.
You can want to bang your coworker all you like, but not appropriate to ask.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and that actually gets me thinking
or
again.
Maybe you shouldn't ask your coworker to babysit if it's not an intimate relationship, right? Or probably don't want to ask the person that checks out your groceries to give you a ride to the airport. Or, I don't know, I'm just making weird shit up, right? But it's how intimate really is the relationship? How professional is the relationship? And is the ask that you're making appropriate to that level of intimacy and or that level of familiarity?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about the familiarity piece, but that really makes sense, right? If you have only known somebody for a couple weeks, maybe you have a budding friendship or something, and then you're going to ask them to babysit your kids. One, maybe not the most wise mind choice to make, but two, maybe that isn't appropriate because you guys don't really know each other that long, and they've never met your kids, or right, and
it would
make a little more sense for them
familiarity with intimacy, because I don't know, familiarity. Yeah. If I go to the same coffee stand every day at the same time, I'm gonna know the baristas there or whatever. Maybe they're probably gonna know my drink by everything, and they know when I'm going. Right, that's familiar. There's a lot of familiarity, but there's no intimacy. Zero intimacy.
Yeah, that is also true.
So I probably have almost nothing other than my coffee that I can ask of those people, even though I'm very familiar with them.
Yep. So
know.
Is this a professional relationship? Is this an intimate relationship? Have you known this person a long time? That kind of a thing. Those are good, I would say, side questions for that one.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep. This question is an important one too. Is asking important to a long-term goal? So again, I'll just keep referencing the Dear Man examples we talked about. Asking for a raise, because we briefly touched on that one, that is important for a long-term goal, because that's going to play a big role in if you stay working for that company, or if you don't. It maybe plays a long-term goal in your family's financial future, or things like that. I would even argue that the dishes one was important for a long-term goal, because
being able to keep living with that person.
Yeah, if you're going to keep living with that person, thinking about how you want to get things on track for how things are going to go in your households, that is also important so that your households run smoothly. So some things might be a one-off kind of a request. I'm asking this of this person, and then, I'll maybe never ask it of them again, or in a month from now.
I don't know. Yeah, give me a ride to the airport. It doesn't actually, it's not a long-term goal. I just need a ride to the airport. I can.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. That's a great example of a short-term goal. Versus one where it's no, I'm planning to maintain a relationship with this person. And so me asking this request sets the tone in a certain way for what's to come. Or it's going to be a more chronic thing, right? House cleaning. House cleaning doesn't have an end date. That's going to continue
I was also thinking, like, there are also, like, internal long-term goals. So, for instance, if I had a long-term goal of becoming more assertive,
Yeah.
that maybe it's important that I ask not because of whatever the fuck the thing is, but because I'm trying to learn to ask for more things.
Yes, it could definitely be an internal goal.
Yeah, so I don't know, just another way of interpreting it.
Yeah, no, that's great. The next one says, do I give as much as I get with this person? So, do things feel relatively equal between the two of you? And I would trust your gut feeling when answering this question. I don't think you really need to go through an inventory in your mind and truly break it down of, like, you know, side by side, they did this for me, then I did that for them. You know, I'm of the belief that things are rarely 50-50 in life, truly. However, is this more of a 60-40 type of relationship, or is this more of a 90-10 relationship? That's an important thing to consider when you're asking something of this person, because if you have been giving to them, it's probably their turn to give a little bit to you. And that may be incorporated in part of the dear man conversation that you could have with them, of basically, you know, that could be part of even the describe piece of, like, hey, the last few times, I don't know, the last 3 times we went out to dinner, not that we do that in these COVID times, but the last 3 times we went out to dinner, I paid the bill each time, and trying to make that request that they might pay for it now. Or something like that.
It's so funny. So. I was also thinking the opposite. Like, oh, yeah? So you're like, if I give, I have a pretty good right to ask them of this thing. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. This probably isn't what they mean. You're probably what they mean, because why would you give yourself 10 cents if it was the way that I'm thinking of it? But it's still good for the evaluation. If the other hand is true, like, have I been taking? Maybe. I don't. Maybe I ought to evaluate whether I need to ask for this thing too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if they've been doing a lot for me, then maybe I pass on asking for this this time around as a factor to consider. Yeah, that's a good point. Second to last one here. It says, do I know what I want and have the facts I need to support my request? Good Lord, do your research. Like, depending on what you're asking for, right? But if it is something like a raise or things like that, make sure that you have solid reasoning in place for why you are making the request that you are making. Especially if you hang out in your emotion mind a little bit more than your reasonable mind, this is your time to bring in your reasonable mind, because it's not enough to just be like, well, I want it because I want it. Yeah. You know, it's important. Again, this does depend on the request, but to really think through, can I make a solid case for why I want what I want? A good example of this is I had a client recently who was wanting to buy a new car. And their partner was a little bit against this. Their partner was a little bit like, I don't think you really need a new car. The car you've got is just fine. You know, we can't afford it, blah, 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 blah. So my client had to do a lot of research, you know, going over their finances and looking up car prices and all of this to basically try to show, you know, yes, we can afford it, and that kind of a thing, to basically justify that what he was asking for wasn't outside the realm of possibility. So depending on the request you're making, doing homework is very, very important. And if you say, oh, I don't really know what the facts are to support my request, well, go find out if that's needed. And the last question, which is quite important as well, is this a good time to ask / is the person in the right mood? So this came up in our Dear Man role play that we did, where Kate asked that right off the bat of me when, you know, we were role playing as roommates together. And she basically said, hey, Michelle, do you have a minute to talk? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But again, this becomes very important if you're making a workplace request. Yeah. But this can be really important if you're wanting to talk to your partner about something really important. If it is not the right time, trust me, it is a lot better to wait until the timing feels a little better than it is to just forge ahead. I've done that a time or two myself in the past, and it just doesn't work out very well. So hold your horses, be patient, wait until it's a good time to ask. Some people want to argue it's never a good time to ask.
There are better or worse.
Yes, there are better or worse. There are sometimes clearly wrong times to ask.
Yeah, there you go. Even if there's never a good time, there's definitely a bad time.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah. So basically, you're going to ask yourself all of those questions. And then there's also, again, look in the Facebook group because we're going to post this. But there's a grid here to add up, depending on how many cents you gave yourself, to add up how strongly to ask. So it ranges from, like, if you have 0 to 10 cents, it says don't ask and don't hint. And I think the hinting here is interesting because, again, like we said with Dear Man, you don't have to Dear Man everything in life.
Yeah.
You do not. Sometimes you could just say, can you pass the salt? And that's all you need to do. So there may be times where hinting is okay. Like, you don't have to necessarily go through all the Dear Man steps. You can maybe just make it a little more casual. Hey, I've been thinking about this. What do you think? Right? Or whatever. So if it's 0 to 10 cents, they say don't ask and don't hint. Don't touch it. Just don't go there. Basically, what you're asking for isn't going to go well. If it's 20 cents, they say hint indirectly and take no. For 30 cents, they say hint openly and take no. They don't talk about what hinting indirectly or hinting openly really means. I guess that's for you to decide based off of the situation. But again, I guess what they're getting at is you can dip your toes in those waters, but if they say no, take the no, right? 40 cents says ask tentatively and take no. 50 cents, so we're right in the middle of the road here, says ask gracefully, but take no. So again, it's like, it's important to ask. You don't need to come on real strong, but ask, go for it. And if they say no,
okay.
It's okay. Then we move up a little bit. So 60 cents says ask confidently. I would argue ask confidently no matter what, but ask confidently and take no. Once we hit 70 cents, then they say ask confidently and resist the no. So this is where you might want to move into some of that negotiating territory. Mm-hmm. The end part of Dear Man is when you get to the 70 cents realm. 80 cents says ask firmly and resist no. 90 cents says ask firmly, insist, negotiate, and keep trying. And if you said yes to every single question and it adds up to $1, they say don't take no for an answer. Now, there are probably very few situations where it's going to be at either of these extremes, where it's like don't ask versus don't take no for an answer. Probably a lot of things that we want or ask for in life probably range somewhere between the 30 to 70 cent range, I would guess. So where you get to decide what tone you want to set for your asking, how firmly you want to assert yourself, and whether or not you want to take the no or whether or not you want to resist the no. Yeah, and push back a little bit. So again, this gives you some guidance on how firmly to ask or not ask. So, Kate, do you have any final thoughts on the deciding how strongly to ask for something part of this?
No, I don't think so. I do think, they're good prompting questions. I think Michelle and I were both illustrating that sometimes the question might lead you to a few other questions. So be willing to kind of follow where it leads if you find that it makes you think about other things. So that's just a good tool for helping you consider multiple angles about a thing. Mm-hmm. My totally I don't know, mostly irrelevant thing was that yours is perfect for being able to reference Dear Man, but we won't be doing fast until later, so I feel like my stuff would be closer to fast, and I can't reference it.
Yeah. We may wind up referencing your side of things quite a bit when we get to the fast episode.
I just can't reference fast anyway.
That's right. And I also realized at the beginning, initially we were like, oh, if you say yes to the questions. Well, for my questions, it's adding up how many times you say yes. For Kate's questions, it's actually adding up how many times you say no, is what we're looking at. So with mine, if you said yes, you got 10 cents. For Kate's, if you say no, you get 10 cents. So same concept,
right? See, yours is
a little bit different with how you get there.
Mine's the no side about saying no, so it works, right?
Exactly. Yep.
All right, so we ready to launch into my questions?
Yeah, go for it.
I like it. The first one, which once again just seems like, I don't know, why do you keep going? But is, can I give the person what is wanted, right? So this is all that someone has made some request of us, and we're trying to decide how firmly to say no to the thing. So the first question is, can I give the person what is wanted? Am I capable of it? And ideally, if you're going through, adding the wise mind adjusted value later, I would say that one gets a lot of weight.
50 cents.
Right? Right? Like, if the answer is no, I mean, I guess maybe you help them figure out a different answer if the answer is no, but you don't add anything else in. I don't know. But right, that's a starting point, right? If the answer is no to there, you kind of have to take a left-hand turn and figure something else out. The second one, which is around the priorities idea, is my relationship more important than saying no, right? You're going to see a lot of these kind of echo what Michelle's questions were in the same category.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe I really want to say no. I really want to say no about this thing. But if I stop and think about it for a minute, my relationship is more important than that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Do I want to wake up at 3 a.m. to drive my sister to the airport? No. In fact, I do not. But
I actually have a good example for this that relates to you and me.
Oh, yes, please.
So, fun fact, Kate was a bridesmaid in my wedding. And Kate, in her real life, sorry, I feel like I'm talking about you as if you're not here. But Kate never wears shoes.
True.
Ever.
Nope.
She never wears shoes if she can help it.
20 years this year.
Wow. Yeah, it's a long time. So Kate just doesn't wear shoes. And I was initially going to tell Kate, Kate, you don't wear shoes anyways. Even though all my other bridesmaids are going to be wearing shoes in the wedding, you don't need to wear shoes. It's fine. But I think Kate decided that our relationship between the two of us was more important than if I had been like, Kate, will you wear shoes? For her to say, no, I'm not going to wear shoes.
Yeah, I never wear shoes. Why would you even ask that?
Yeah, why would you think? And I mean, again, she volunteered actually. She's like, Michelle, I'll wear shoes before I even, I wasn't even going to ask her. But I think you said that because you knew that like, our relationship was more important than you being like, I'm not going to wear shoes.
Yeah, being temporarily uncomfortable and, mildly uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that could bother me if, it's my wedding and you're saying no. I don't know, that kind of a thing.
Look nice, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a silly example, but I think that really played a role in why you were like, yes, I will wear whatever shoes you want me to wear is because it made our relationship even better. Aww.
Shoes I wore once, and I believe gave away on my Buy Nothing group. Anyway,
I don't think I've worn my wedding shoes.
No, I am no longer in possession of them. I can't remember who I gave them away to. Oh, no, my friend and fellow therapist, Carrie. That's who.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she has the same size feet as me. Not a lot of people do. I have giant feet, so sorry,
well,
Carrie.
That's perfect then.
So is my relationship more important? If the relationship is really important and the thing isn't that big of a deal, right, that might get some different weight there.
Yeah.
Next one. Will saying no make me feel bad about myself? So actually, interestingly, I have a real life example of this today. My back door neighbor, right? We share a fence that's the back of their property and the back of mine. Well, my back door. All right, let's see if I can keep the story short. There are people staying in a camper on my back door neighbor's property. There has been conflict between them and the person in the RV thing needs to leave rather suddenly. They're trying to get all their stuff out in the next 24 hours, but they asked me if necessary, could they put a few things on our property just like for one extra day while they finished getting stuff moved into their new place that they're going to be living. And at first, I admit, I was a little bit reticent. I was like, oh, what if they don't come and get their stuff and we end up washing their stuff for a long time? I don't really know this person really well. Right? I had a bit of mistrust and uncertainty as my first response to it. But then I thought about something that I tell my clients actually all the time, which is you don't get to choose not to fuck up. At best, you can choose how you want to fuck up. And I, like, what direction, right, do you want to fuck up in? So I thought about that. I'm like, do I want to be the person who fucks up by trusting people too much, or do I want to be the person who fucks up by trusting people too little? And that made it very clear to me. I want to be the person who fucks up by trusting people too much. That's how I want to move through the world. Those are the mistakes that I want to make. That's how I want to fuck up. And so that helped settle that question for me, right, was because saying no, I would have felt like I was acting out of authenticity with the person that I am and who I want to be. So I don't know. That's just my today, my real life example of really asking myself this question. Like, how would I feel about myself if I answered this person one way or the other?
Well, I think that's a really good example because I've had it for myself many times where, again, like my gut reaction is like, no, to say no, I'm just kind of like, that's uncomfortable or that's weird or I don't really know. But then later on, if I do go with my gut reaction and I do say no right away, then sometimes down the line, I'm like, why did I really say no to that? Like, I think about it later and I realize, oh, I wish I had said yes, or I wish I had taken that chance. So if you're worried in any way that you're going to have those kinds of regrets, think about it.
Decide how you want to
saying no
fuck up.
might make you feel bad about yourself.
All right, what is the next one? Oh, I love this one. It's just as pretty clear cut as the other one. Am I required by law or moral code to give or do what is wanted, or does saying no violate this person's rights? So it adds a little bit differently because it's talking about either what are my responsibilities or what are the other person's rights. But yeah, again, I think we were pretty creative with different places we were thinking of that stuff when we were talking about yours, Michelle. But again, am I this person's boss? Am I a doctor? Am I a police officer? Am I a, person in authority in some fashion? And like either, cultural mores and our general moral code would dictate that I need to do this thing, or I'm literally legally responsible. Or, does that violate the person's rights? I'm having a hard time where it's like I'm not required by law, but it does infringe their rights. I'm like, if an employee is wanting a break, I'm legally required to give that to them. So saying no would violate their rights, but it also would be illegal for me to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time thinking of one that's one and not the other. But either way, I think people get the idea, right? I'm pretty sure that if you are in a position where you are required by law or moral code to do the thing, you probably know.
Yep.
You probably know. So I'll leave that with that one. Authority. Is the other person responsible for telling me what to do, right? So this is, am I the underling, right? Am I the, hey, if you're a child listening to our podcast, I apologize for how much I swear and listen to your parents. No, but, right, this is our bosses or maybe, other people who for some reason, the lead, the volunteer coordinator for a place that we volunteer or, something where someone does have that authority and the right to tell you what to do, in which case that, has a I don't know, impact on how strongly you want to say no. If they don't have the right to tell you what to do, well, then you have more of a firm case. Then relationship. What is the person? Oh, nope. I can start this sentence correctly. Watch me do it. Is what the person is requesting of me appropriate to my relationship with this person?
That seems like a really important one.
Yes.
I think.
This is my boss asking me for sex, right? This is, right? I feel like a lot of fill in the blank here harassment goes in, this category, right? Whether that be, your teacher is asking you inappropriate things, or someone in authority over you, right, is asking you for things that aren't appropriate, or, to invert some of the examples from when we were looking at Michelle's list, are you the barista and did some random lady that comes through your drive-thru every day suddenly ask you to babysit her dog for the weekend? Like,
say no.
Say no. Right? So there's the like gross inappropriate, and then there's just the what the fuck inappropriate.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like there's different ways.
I hardly know you. I'm not going to do that for you.
Or just met. Or that's not her. I don't know. I'm the receptionist in your dentist's office. What are you talking about? I don't know. Why? I know we recognize each other and I see you frequently, but no, there's no real relationship here. What? No. Right. So, I think that's right. And oftentimes I think that if it's in the gross kind of no, you're going to feel that, right? That's going to be a good place for having mindfulness. Like if someone asks you something and you feel kind of sick, right? You feel just like, oh, right? Like, then that's a pretty good indicator that it's probably not appropriate for that relationship. Or maybe you do just go, what in the name of fuck? Right? And that probably also is a good indicator. Next one. In the long term, will I regret saying no? I think that
we touched on that a little bit.
With the feeling bad about myself one. I think it can tie into feeling bad about this, or it could tie into more like, I don't know, those internal goals we were talking about. So, on the one side, maybe I was trying to be more of an assertive person, but maybe on this side, I'm trying to be more giving, right? Maybe I'm trying to be someone who's more generous with my time or talents or whatever. Or maybe I'm, trying to learn to go with things, right? Go with the flow more and say yes to more stuff, right? So there's other internal kind of goals that could determine if maybe you'd regret saying no once you had some time to think about it and sit with it for a bit.
Yep.
Give and take. Do I owe this person a favor? So in other words, like, does that person do a lot for me? Right. So if that person has been, I don't know, doing an awful lot for me, how ungenerous would I seem, I guess, if I say no to this thing when they've been saying yes to a lot of things for me? Right. I think that's kind of what that means.
And I think it's also important to point out with this one, because I think sometimes people can use that as a manipulation tactic in a way to try to force you to say yes to them. And so even if that's true, if they're like, well, I did this for you the last 5 times, it's your turn. Okay, that's a factual thing that they did that for you 5 times. That still does not mean that you have to say yes. Because I think a lot of people can be like, well, I have to do it because they've done it for me. And that doesn't mean that you have to say yes. It's just one of many.
I was going to say, remember, there's 9 other questions
to consider. Yep. Of like, even if you do owe that person a favor, even if that person has been doing a lot for you, you still can say no to this specific request if it doesn't feel good to you. And maybe that's something to look at in your relationship, right? Of you can probably trust your gut feeling here of like, is this person doing this because they're genuinely wanting to be kind to me and that's why they've been doing all these things? And okay, would I be doing this out of a place of kindness back? Or has this person been doing all these things because they're trying to one-up me or prove a point or get it to this place where then they can say, hey, it's your turn. What is this person's intentions?
Yeah. I think about the creepy boss. That's what I keep thinking about, right? Like, I've been giving you all these extra hours lately, making sure that you get overtime. Look at all these nice things that I've done for you. So come on, you can give me one date. Right? Yep.
So think about the tone of that question. I think is really important.
Homework. Do I know what I'm saying no to? So this could be, maybe I do some homework on what exactly is entailed. I don't know. I really am just making shit up. But like, I don't know, donating a kidney. What would that really mean? Right? I don't know. Right. So maybe it's homework that I need to do so that I'm informed enough so I feel like I'm making an informed decision. Or this may actually be kind of homework to send the other person off to. Like, are they being clear about what's being asked for? So maybe you need to ask them for more clarity or ask them to get you more information if they don't have it. But yeah, do you even know? Do you even know what you're saying no to? right?
Yeah.
If I, maybe Michelle knows what this is, but I'm relying on maybe her not being enough of a geek. Like if I asked, I mean, obviously we don't know because otherwise we'd be recording in the same room. But if I was like, hey, Michelle, want to go boffing next weekend?
I have no idea what boffing is.
Right? Does it sound a little dirty? It always sounds a little dirty to me.
Kind of, yeah.
Boffing,
I don't know what it is.
You want to go boff with me? So, Michelle, if we weren't such good friends and, you know, she knows me well enough to be like, what? And I would just tell her, but she might be like, oh, no, right? Because boffing sounds gross and weird and dirty.
What is that?
Why would I even want to do that? By the way, it is like play sword fighting essentially with like, anyway. You like
Is it like LARPing?
Yes, it's like LARPing. But only the fighting part. There's not like storyline. You're not necessarily playing characters. You just make a bunch of fake weapons out of like PVC pipe and wrapping them in foam and stuff. And then you kind of thwack the shit out of each other. It's very fun.
Oh, it's what my brother did in the backyard with his friend for years.
Probably, yes.
They made swords and they fought each other.
Yes. I did that. I was in the buffing club at UW when I was there.
That's funny. You would be.
I would be. Yep, it's the only time I had to not go to my work shift because I slipped and fell and slid in the mud. I was like working at the university, so I stopped and like played for a few minutes before I went into work. And I like showed up and my boss just looked at me and was like, well, I guess you're calling out. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a change of clothes. It was like an hour and a half for me to bus home and bus back. I was just mud from head to toe. It was amazing.
That's funny.
Right, so homework. Either I need to do it or maybe they need to do it, but be sure about what you're saying no to before you say no.
Well, and what you're saying yes to is kind of the other way to think about this. So, like, I think about it like if someone came
saying yes to?
Yeah, like if somebody comes to me and if they're like, oh, hey, Michelle, I'm going out of town for a few days. Can you watch my dog? Well, what does that mean? How often does the dog need to be walked? Mm-hmm. You know, maybe I know where my friend lives and I've been there. Yeah, how much food do I need to give them? Like, what am I really saying yes to here?
I was thinking, like, if I said, like, hey, do you want to go on a hike?
Oh my gosh, like you did to me that one time and it was 6 miles.
It's true.
My hip hurt really bad at the end of it.
Yeah, like that one. Like that.
It was a pretty hike, though.
It was very pretty. Wallace Falls, shout out. Right, but what are you saying yes to, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then last one, same question as the last one on Michelle's side, which is timing. You know, should I wait a while before saying no? You know, like how, I don't know. I don't know. Like, have you ever pretended to think about something because you knew that not thinking about it would hurt a person's feelings? I'm not going to be more. I'm not going to be more specific than that, lest anybody be listening to.
Well, here's the other nicer devil's advocate side of that is like sometimes somebody, I mean, I've had this before where someone has legitimately asked me something and I'm honestly considering it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right? Like if a boss is like, can you work some overtime? I'm not just like, well, let me think about it. In the back of my mind, I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Sometimes I'm like, no, I really want to think about that because maybe I need the extra pay or, you know, I genuinely want to help out, but I need to consider, okay, what's my schedule like? Do I need to move things around? Like, whatever it is. There are certainly many situations in life where, like,
but then when would you say no after you thought? Like, what would make you decide when the right time to actually answer was?
I mean, I think it depends on, like, I would just feel maybe like I have to do my own research a little bit. Yeah, my homework. Yep. To be like, okay, what would this impact in my life?
Okay, so you kind of mean like don't necessarily say knee jerk, like it's not the right time to say no because you haven't thought about it hard enough yet?
Yeah, well, I think I know a lot of people in my life like this, where they say yes to nearly everything.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, they're not pausing to think about, should you really be, like, agreeing to that, right? They're going to be the people who, you know, again, if you're like, can you watch my dog? They'll be like, yeah, no problem. And they don't know
anything,
a thing about what's really being asked of them. And so if you have a tendency to be that person, when a big ask is being made of you, it is probably smart to, however much a while is, a while may be an hour, a while might be a couple days, however long it takes for you to actually think through the rest of these questions we've talked about and then make your decision. There's plenty of things in life that we can say yes to without a second thought. And there's also a lot of things that, like, saying yes without a second thought can get us into trouble.
I like this because that, like, segues perfectly into the sort of scale for this one. So, fairly briefly, just sort of go over it. 0 to 10 cents, the answer is do it without being asked. So I like that, since you were talking about just, there are plenty of things you can just say yes to without any thought. So that's apparently, that's about that. If you get 0 to 10 cents, just do it. Do the thing. Just do it. At 20 cents, don't complain and do it cheerfully. At 30 cents, do it even if you're not cheerful about it. At 40 cents, do it, but it's okay to show that you'd rather not do it. At 50 cents, you can say that you'd rather not, but still do it gracefully. At 60 cents, say no firmly, but be open to reconsidering if the person negotiates or presents new information or, something like that. At 70 cents, say no confidently and resist saying yes. At 80 cents, say no firmly and resist saying yes. At 90 cents, say no firmly, resist, and negotiate. And last but not least, at a full $1, don't do it. I like it, because that just, I think that similarly, it just runs the gamut from do it without being asked to don't do it. So just do it or don't do it, and everything in between. But, I don't know, I like it.
Yep. Yeah. So, basically, this is, like we said at the beginning, this is a tool to help you in making these decisions, either in how strongly to ask for something or how strongly to say no to something. So, for homework, and again, this may come up, I feel like there are some homework assignments we give where it's kind of like almost a guarantee that you'll have an opportunity to use them between now and the next episode we post. This one, it may come up for you, it may not come up for you in the near future. You may be facing a big decision of wanting to ask someone something pretty major, or you may be in a position where a request has been made of you and you want to say no. And so this may come up for you in the near future of trying this out, but even if it doesn't, this is something to think about, to keep in the back of your mind the next time something is asked of you and you have this gut feeling that's like, wait, I really think I should pause and think about this real quick. Or if you're wanting to ask someone for something and you're like, this feels like a big ask, I want to make sure I'm putting my best foot forward so that I'm really making sure like this is something worth asking for and worth fighting for. It just is a good way to give you more information. So try it out if and when you get a chance, is basically the main thing I would say. So consider making a contribution to our Patreon page, patreon.com/DBT and me. Check out our Etsy shop at etsy.com and search for DBT and me, all one word. I almost read out the whole link, but it's long. Etsy.com, search for DBT and me on there. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and send us emails with questions, concerns, successes, anything at all. dbtandmepodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, we love suggestions, things that are working for you, things that we could be doing better, things you want us to talk about. I don't know. Anything.
Whatever, really.
We're very open to whatever you want to email us about, because we just love getting emails.
It's true.
It makes us happy.
It's like the only email account where I'm actually happy getting emails.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Those are like, another ad, or another bill coming out, or whatever.
Yeah,
Emails
exactly.
turn
It's
into
all
real
good
mail.
stuff in our podcast email.
Okay, are we ready for closing moment?
I feel ready.
Nice. Okay. So, as per usual, just try and find yourself a comfy position to get into. This may be seated, or standing, or laying down, even walking around if that's what's most comfortable for you. Just find a position that you can be in while being relatively relaxed and comfortable. Now, as always, we're going to start by just focusing in our breath. You don't have to breathe any more slowly or any more deeply than you do naturally. It's just about bringing your awareness into your breath. just about noticing it. Letting your breath welcome you into your body and into the moment. And today, we're actually going to stay with our breath for a while. As you continue to breathe, still following your natural, normal rhythm, I want you to really key in on the differences between each breath. Notice when you breathe in more deeply or more shallowly. Notice the temperature of the air as you breathe it in or as you exhale. Notice if perhaps there are different smells during different breaths or different tastes on the back of your tongue. Any small, nuanced differences. Or just paying attention, just keying in. In a way, each of these breaths can be representative of a new moment. And like every breath is unique, there are small changes, small nuances, small differences in every breath we take. Every moment is also a new moment. Every moment is a chance for things to change, a chance for things to be different. In a very real way, every breath and every moment is a new beginning. It's an opportunity to change direction, an opportunity to introspect or to take action, to change course if that's what's needed. With every breath, with every moment, we have the opportunity essentially to start anew. We're not trapped, we're not stuck once we've headed a direction or made a decision. We can still change course. We can still update the information and change our mind. So I just want you to focus on that for a couple of moments. Focus on your breath and how each breath is its own unique moment, and how each unique moment is an opportunity to behave in a new way, to see things from a new perspective, to make whatever change you need to, that maybe you haven't made in the moment before this one. Never too late to change, to pivot, to start again. Now, take a couple of deliberate breaths. Break out of your natural rhythm with a couple of deep and slow breaths and relaxing exhalations through your mouth if it feels good. And begin to welcome yourself back into your body with whatever stretches or movements feel good to bring you out of the meditation and into your body and into the present moment and into the room. And whenever you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. To learn more about us and the DBT skills we're teaching each week, join our Facebook group. Simply log in to your Facebook profile and search for DBT and Me Podcast.